this lesson, we'll take a look at solving inequalities with negative coefficients. The other day I mentioned that there were situations where we solved inequalities basically like equations with one exception, and this is the exception. At this point I'd like you to have your notes out, but I'd really like you to focus on what I'm going to discuss with you in the next few minutes. So I would like you to concentrate on this so that you will understand why we're doing what we do to solve inequalities with negative coefficients. Consider the statement shown by the following. 8 is greater than 2. Is that true? Yes, that is true. So I'm going to multiply by 3. And is 8 times 3 greater than 2 times 3? Well, is 24 greater than 6? Sure, 24 is greater than 6. Now let's try this one. Multiply through by negative 3. Is 8 times negative 3 greater than 2 times negative 3? Or is negative 24 greater than negative 6? Well, if you think back to our number line, that is absolutely, positively not true. When we think about multiplying through an inequality by a negative number, we actually have to reverse that inequality because we've created a situation where we're not going to have the same truth value. What about 20? Is 20 greater than 10? Sure, 20 is greater than 10. And if I divide through by 5, is 20 divided by 5 greater than 10 divided by 5? Well, 4 is certainly greater than 2. Now if I divide through by negative 5, well again, what I find is that negative 4 is not greater than negative 2. That is false. So in order for this to be a true statement, I need to reverse the inequality. The rule is when multiplying or dividing through by a negative number, we have to reverse the inequality sign. Now keep in mind, this is only when we multiply or divide through by a negative number. Once I give students this rule, they tend to start reversing signs on a whim. Every time they think about it, they're reversing the signs. It's only when you multiply or divide by a negative number. Let's try a couple examples. The first example, negative 2x is less than 6. So what do I do to solve that inequality? Well, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2. And because of this process, I'm dividing through by a negative, I am going to switch the direction of my inequality. And so my answer is x is greater than negative 3. It's going to be an open circle, and it's going to be graphed to the right. Negative 5x plus 3 greater than or equal to negative 7. So I subtract 3. I am subtracting 3 here, not multiplying or dividing by a negative. So it's going to stay negative 5x is greater than or equal to negative 10. Now I divide through by negative 5, and x is less than or equal to 2, because in this step here is where I divided through by a negative. To graph that, it would be a closed circle, and it would be to the left. So there are a few more examples on the back. Why don't you try each of these and come back and check your answers with me. Here we go. I'm showing you all the solutions. Now I did mix some in there to see if you had your wits about you. In number 3 and 4, I did in fact have to switch the direction of my inequality. As you can see from where I started them, that I divided through or multiplied through by a negative number. In number 5, there was no multiplying or dividing by a negative number. What I did is I took this c minus 2 and put it on the left and just used the symmetric property of equality to switch those around, but I did not switch the inequality. If you notice, negative 5 is greater than that expression, and in my second step, negative 5 is still greater than that expression. So that was not a result of reversing the inequality sign. In number 6, I did in fact multiply by negative 4, so I switched the direction. 7, no switching or reversing necessary because I just subtracted 6, then multiplied by 2, so everything was fine there. And in number 8, in the last step, I had to divide through by a negative number, so I did switch the direction of my inequality. So there's a few examples for you, and you have some practice to work on in your packet, and we'll discuss this more tomorrow. Enjoy your evening, everyone.